You've taken on way too many client meetings. You're always in front of the computer. You're running on caffeine and grit. And that works for a while, especially when you're new and you're like grooving on that heady mix of success and single malt. It works for a while. But overnight, it stops working. In this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what functional consciousness is and why you need it. The reason we end up worn out and tired on the other side of a hustle and always going for more is multifaceted. Everything is energy. You are made of energy. You have capacities with energy. Functional consciousness gives you back you. 10 years ago, 2013, I can't count. I was deeply unhappy. I had been an entrepreneur a couple of times, but for the most part had been waitressing, bartending, making it work. I'd gotten a certification in landscape design, just a all-round, good at everything, not a master of anything. Anyway, long story short, I had come through a lot of abuse in my life, emotional, sexual, family stuff, and was at the end of my rope again. I was at the end of my second marriage, all alone. It was a convergence and ended up incredibly suicidal. Out of that, I found a lady who got me stable. I got my nutrition in order. I did a thing called BIE, bioenergetic intolerance elimination. But I had tried everything up to that point, religion, hypnosis, breath work. I was one of those. I was a seeker. The time that I found the tools of consciousness, and I was out of options. I tried everything. So like the universe does, it ran me into an old friend from Bible school, and I found Access Consciousness. Now, Access Consciousness themselves is an amazing organization. If you ever want to get into something where you full out experience the change that energy can create, go there. I spent 10 years in that work. I facilitated it full time. It changed my life, changed my body, changed my life, changed what I had access to. And I ended up building a pretty robust little business, multi six figures, 1.4 mil lifetime revenue. And then 3 years ago, another convergence. So my body changed completely. Woman of the age of the Perry. My husband and I at the time were living offshore. So basically everything changed. The penny dropped. You know, I lost all of my original motivation for building this incredible business. I started it out with, oh my God, this is changing my life. And, you know, you've got to know about it, to Jesus Christ, I have to do this again. But I was pretty stuck because I had a robust business. I had a team, and I had taken 2 very big loans. And for us to get out from under that, and these were not like line of credit things. These had a timeline and a deadline. Plus, I was the breadwinner. So I was responsible to my family, responsible to my team, responsible to hundreds of other people around the world that were depending on my pursuit of this consciousness thing, which always changed. And so they stayed tapped into me for the change. And honestly, all I wanted to do was walk up the side of a mountain, get a dog, light a fire, and read a book. I remember so vividly just craving the silence. And so, of course, I couldn't do that. So I hustled in a way I hustled before, but I hustled from joy. You know, when you're hustling from joy, it's easy. This was not hustling from joy. This was hustling from have to. And I was able to sustain it for 2 years until I got everything paid off. And I'm telling you that last month before the thing was paid off, I gathered every single penny from around my entire universe to pay this thing off. And I collapsed for 2 months. I was so done. I was Googling, I was looking at Cody Sanchez's stuff, boring businesses. I was Googling buying a logging franchise or something. I was looking at businesses for sale, laundromats, anything else besides this thing. And I was heartbroken simultaneously because these tools and this thing and this business had been my identity, my validation, my love, everything about me that I was proud of. And I was exhausted. I was done. And so it took me about a year of wrestling with that after the 2-month collapse maybe it was 6 months, to finally choose to not fully recertify in that exact modality. And that was big. But the reason I tell you all that is after I didn't recertify, I realized I was still all about consciousness. Functional consciousness, as what I call it now, is the access to the consciousness you want to obtain results in your life and in your business. Everything is made of consciousness. Consciousness is the prima materia. Everything's made of consciousness. You can go study some quantum physics. If you're watching this, you likely know this is true, including you. And number one. Number two, I have abilities with consciousness and with energy. Consciousness is energy. And you have abilities with energy. And so what happens for people like you and me, and this is, let me grab my list. This is what it is. Well, what it is, functional consciousness is giving you access to the abilities you already have with energy to be able to function. Full stop. Everything is energy. You are made of energy. You have capacities with energy. The reason we end up worn out and tired on the other side of a hustle and always going for more is multifaceted. One, our middle name is more. That's the crystalline part of it. But two, a lot of us have come from places where we felt like we had to survive. And so things feel scarce even when they're not. So it ends up as a mashup, and we end up driven by something that we can't even articulate, and we don't even know we're being driven by until 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road when we're succeeding and wiped off the face of the earth. So that's what functional consciousness is. But I wrote down a few reasons of why you need it. And one is that without it, you lose your spark. Even in a consciousness business, I lost my spark because I transitioned from building from joy to building from have to. Every single time you make that shift, and it's usually overnight and you don't even know you're doing it, right? You've taken on way too many client meetings. You're always in front of the computer. You're running on caffeine and grit. And that works for a while, especially when you're new and you're like grooving on that heady mix of success and single malt. You're just like, it works for a while. But overnight, it stops working. It's so bizarre because it's undetectable until you're right in the middle of it not working. And so without consciousness, which consciousness empowers you to start being the question. Without that, you just keep going on autopilot almost because you're now on a rushing train that you built. And there's nobody else to drive it but you. And so it's either jump off the train and watch it crash, which most of us aren't willing to do, or stop the train, which most of us aren't willing to do because of lots of reasons. Our lives are wrapped up in it. We're taking care of a lot of people, all the things. So the reason you need functional consciousness is without it, you lose your spark. If I, at the moment of taking the big loans, had looked at it with more consciousness is inclusion and awareness, I would have had a sense that doing this would obligate me to the business rather than allow me to create the business. Possibly. I might have just needed to go through it to get the information, which is also included in consciousness. But I might have had a little more awareness about what was really important to me if I had had that conversation. So with consciousness, I can have my spark back. Another reason why you need it is without you, there's nothing. Functional consciousness gives you back you. Most of us give ourselves away to our businesses. We give ourselves away to our families. We give ourselves away to our obligations. We give ourselves away to our ideas. We give ourselves away to our dreams. This gives you back you. You now get to sit with you, and I don't mean sit and do nothing, and ask questions and really look inward. And it gives you access to the knowing that sort of sits here that is different than the head tripping that we go into, trying to make the right decision, trying to think it all through, trying to get our brains to move fast enough so that we can figure it out. That is all a trap. It's great that your brain works, but your mind's a trap. And gives you back your soul, your heart, your knowing, the being of you. From the being of you, everything is possible. From the thinking of you, everything is on a collision course with destruction. And if it doesn't destroy out in the world, it destroys you. Maybe you've noticed. Reason number 3, you need it. Consciousness includes you and your body. And when we get to the point where we are burnt crispy and so in need of a shift, we have a backlog of ignoring ourselves and our body. Full stop. There's just no other way to put it. We are backlogged in memos from self that we haven't been listening to. And so we're so backlogged on that, and we have so many other things pulling for our attention that we continue to not listen because the things pulling for our attention are the easiest things to pay attention to because right now they're the loudest until our body gets loud. And that's what happened for me. Maybe you're not there yet. And then crash. So you need this because consciousness includes you and your body, and you start learning how to include you and your body. You can have a robust business and life that includes you and your body if you start. I'm not talking about go start working out and drinking more water, although that might be included. I am talking about a higher level view of if I were including me, including my body, what would I be aware of and what could I choose? Another reason why you need it. Being run by anything else sucks ballsack. You being run by your business, you being run by your obligations, you being run by your scarcity and your hoarding, you being run by this drive that you can't articulate sucks because you are not the one in control. Your drive is what you are being driven by is. You know, if I had been willing to receive, if I had been willing to let everything fall apart, then I wouldn't have run myself for 2 years. But I wasn't willing to let. And there's a lot of strength in that. I think that's pretty awesome. I'm a little bummed about how hard it was. But there's great things about what you're choosing right now. But if you are being run by something other than your choice, sucks. And yes, you are choosing every day and you're choosing to be run by this thing. But would it be more interesting for you to be in the driver's seat again? And for you to be going, wait a minute, okay, I got a lot of information from what I've chosen so far. Lots. I've made a lot of money. I've gotten success. I've become a better person, a bigger person, a person I didn't even know if I could get to. I'm there. Now what? Because being run by anything other than that sucks. And the 5th big reason that I think you need it is your freedom, your soul, and your creativity is on the other side of this hump. So you may be in a place right now where you've lost yourself. You've lost your joy. You've lost your mojo. You've lost your joie de vivre. Maybe you're there. Maybe you're almost there. Maybe you are aware of that is coming. I don't know where you are. There's freedom available. There's soul available. There's creativity available. And I'll end it with this little story. When I made the choice to shut it all down, it was hard. And I'm not saying that's where you have to go. Everybody's path is completely unique to them. That's not the point of this. The point is, you do have a path and you're the master of it. In fact, you're the creator, you're the artist. You got into this business thing to art. And now, is that what you're doing or something else? I got into the business I was in to art consciousness all over the world. It had changed my life. I wanted as many people to know about it as possible. I didn't get into it to hustle my face off. unless it was fun, unless I was having a good time hustling, which was definitely true for a long, long time, and then it changed. But freedom came when I was willing to, when I finally became willing to lose what I thought that meant about me, to let it go, the status that I thought was so important to me, the ego death that was. And that was probably the hardest part, the income impact that it had to close everything down. But after I said yes to it, and it was a process, I don't know if I've ever felt so much relief. And it really surprised me because I probably cried more leading up to that moment than I did after I actually made the choice to have me fully. Whatever that meant, whatever the fallout was, whatever I was going to have to change, whatever was going to be shifted around because of this, having me and freedom and having my creativity and my soul back was worth everything. So I'd like to invite you to check out consciousentrepreneursystem.com. We are a group of us gathered over there. I am interested in contributing functional consciousness for you so that you have access to you. You have access to calm. You have access to clarity. You have access to the decisions that are really, truly available to you that maybe you don't know yet. And to the future that only you are capable of creating, that is full of freedom, soul, and creativity. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.